Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RENNSPORT R1 competition for another week. Round 3 this time around. We're halfway through, and now in the second half, indeed, of a new RENNSPORT R1 season. Tonight's visiting Sebring and Monza. But as I say, we're halfway through our season. We're really getting to grips with this new format. 2 races per group per night. And this is the one that everyone's had circled at the start of the season, because for the first time this season, Verstappen Sim Racing and Porsche Coanda are in the same group, and we're going to be seeing them go up against one another for the very first time in 2026. It's another new lineup as well for another new week of RENNSPORT R1 competition. Myself, Ewan O'Leary, joined by Cam Roger this week on comms. Good to have you alongside me, Cam. You've picked a good week to join in. Verstappen Sim Racing versus Porsche Coanda. It's the sort of matchup, if you like. We don't often have 1v1s in sim racing too often, but it's the matchup that everyone will have been looking forward to from the very start of this season, and this is the round where it comes in, round 3.
Absolutely. Not only in R1 competition have they been, so dominant and obviously fighting against each other, but this goes all the way back to the Red Line and Coanda days of 10 years ago as well. It's a rivalry that really has gone on, and to be honest, I can't wait to see how it's going to be with them fighting against each other in these obviously smaller groups today. Yeah,
indeed. 6 teams in each group, as we're about to see. Each week as well, there is a community vote to determine the circuits. Last time we were at 2 different versions of Le Mans. We're going different places this time round. Sebring International Raceway's normal layout is going to be on the list, as is Monza, with not no chicanes at all, but certainly the first one missing. And so that will be a high-speed second race for both groups here today. Laguna Seca coming very close there, actually. Might see that on a future round if it comes up. We'll wait and see. Over the course of this season so far, each team have been collecting points based on the same system, so they can be matched up, despite the fact that not everybody has raced every other team yet, I don't think. Well, certainly not yet, but that will change a bit tonight. The top 6 is what you're really looking at here, and at the very top, Verstappen Sim Racing are leading only by 7 points in front of TC Esports. RENNSPORT Grandmaster Team BS Competition are tied for 3rd place ahead of Miles, and then Porsche Coanda Esports Racing Team. You may be wondering why they're all the way down in 6th place. Because after we left you after round 2, they were but further up the field. Well, this is why. Disqualification from both races in round 2 for in-game exploits. That's effectively track limits is what that really means. And so their points from Le Mans, both layouts, have been wiped away totally. Nobody else is close to even a qualifying ban, never mind a race ban. But the new ones to look at, Daniel Rates is on 4 penalty points now, Robbie Steppenford now on 3, and a couple of warnings in from last week as well. Sam Blitzter and Daniel Rates also on warnings for bump drafting there. They're going to have to be careful on that particular front, because at Monza you could fall afoul of that rule if you're not concentrating properly, and so just something to note heading into tonight as well. Here are the teams, here are the groups. And as you can see, it's Group A where we're really going to be focusing here tonight, Cam. Verstappen Sim Racing versus Porsche Coanda Esports team. But do you think we are looking at a 2-horse race? I say that because TC Esports are only 7 points behind Verstappen Sim Racing heading into this round of the championship. And we've had a decent sample size now of 4 races, and they're in Group A as well. It's a very, very strong Group A today.
Oh, it certainly is. This is where the real action potentially is going to be had. But what that allows is some teams in Group B to then gain those points with the so-called top 2 teams not being there. But as you say, TC Sports do not rule them out. They are, as you say, 7 points behind in that second position. And we're going to see what they're going to be able to do today. As we hit Sebring, this is the track of many bumps, of course, and can always be a tricky one for the drivers to get right. It's very easy to make a mistake, especially through Sunset Bend here at the final corner.
Yeah, indeed, one of the newer circuits actually added into RENNSPORT. Certainly not been as long in the sim as Monza has, which will be visited later on, although I don't believe in R1 competition we've ever done it without the chicane before. A whole load of firsts happening over the course of 2026, that's for sure. Oscar Sopridge we saw coming across the line there, just went up into 2nd position. He's about half a second away from Sam Vlietstrad, whose time might well stand. That's very wide from Daniel Ratte, coming up towards the line there, missing the apex completely. He goes over the line and he only jumps up to 3rd. Those are the opening times, but the big names, if you like, and I hope that's not too rude, the big names are coming up towards the line now. Augustin Tolassi, first of all, from TC Esports.
They're second in the teams championship and TC Sports. To be fair, in general, over the last year or so, they've been really getting towards the top of sim racing. Across the line, what is it going to be? It's a long race of 42.9. That puts him provisional pole.
Just for now, but there's still plenty of drivers to come, as is Kevin Siggy. Here he comes towards the final corner now. Purple second sector for him from Verstappen Sim Racing as he throws it into the final turn. Trying to manage the car over the bumps there. So difficult to do, as we know. And Siggy is going to go to the top himself, and that's a pretty decent gap as well. 8.5 tenths of a second quicker than Torlashi there.
Yeah, this is... one thing to know, actually, Collins here, he was quite a bit further back when we saw him. Did he get a slowdown, or is there something else that we're seeing here? In Sector 2, though, is not too bad. Maybe he's had a slower run to the start of his lap. Around the final corner, Collins needing to make up from the points disqualification at the previous round. Across the line, it is going to be a 41.8, and by 0.2 of a second gets the pole.
Yeah, that was a very, very strong lap time indeed from Charlie Collins, who's done so well this season in qualifying. I'll get the actual statistics up, but I think he's actually been 3 out of 4 on pole. Obviously, that might be wiped away retrospectively, given track limits and so on, but nevertheless, it's been a very strong season from Collins so far. Here comes Enzo Benito up towards the line. Not quite able to get over Collins there. 39 thousandths of a second, and Benito slots into second place.
And that is so tight up towards the front. Top 3 drivers all within a quarter of a second, and Rogers looks to be basically matching those times with those sectors, but it's all to do in this final sector, really wide at the final corner, using all of the track up towards the line. What is it going to be? It's a 42.0, goes into third place and splits the two Verstappen Sim Racing cars. Oh, and there's a big crash there for Ladler on the exit of Le Mans corner onto the Allman Straight.
Well, don't forget, RENNSPORT Grandmaster team are now tied for third in the points because of the penalty to Porsche Coranda. So they're a top team, but Ladler there without such a strong lap time, I'm afraid, with that spin coming out of the turn. Sobrero going up towards the final corner right now as well. Hopefully on a bit of a cleaner lap, as Ladler will come across the line just for the sake of finishing it. Maybe he won't even do that. But Sobrero is going to get or try to get somewhere closer to his teammate, hopefully ahead of his teammate, and closer to the Verstappen Sim Racing Porsche Coranda guys who are currently more in the front. Here comes Sobrero up towards the line, and that is solid enough, but it is right around where his teammate was, and therefore not in amongst the big 2 teams. It's a very orderly grid, I've got to say, with the teams nicely mapped together like that.
Yeah, we had that, I think it was the first or second race of the season where we saw that as well. All 6 teams were 2x2x2 back then at the Nürburgring. But across the line, what's Harper going to do? Final driver of the first race. Where is he going to put himself up into 9th place? That's not so bad. A few places ahead of his teammate, but it is just going to be there on the 5th row.
So it's Charlie Collins who takes yet another pole position here in RENNSPORT R1. Certainly in 2026, he's been on fire. He's ahead of Enzo Benito by 39 thousandths of a second. Josh Rogers and Kevin Siggy will be there on row 2 with a bit of a gap, and TC Sports sort of in a wood of their own at the moment. Augustin Torlashi and Deva Sobrero on row 3. Stan Vlietstra, best of the rest, you might say, for Referox, ahead of Oscar Soprich of the Sim Nation PXN Racing team. Then Kimi Happala, ahead of Daniel Rates, who's Soprich's teammate. Then Juho Soppanen in 11th in front of Dominic Ladler, who did eventually cross the start-finish line, only for the sake of doing so, really, as he spun coming out of Le Mans corner, and he therefore sets only a 1:56. I don't think there are any too big surprises there from that qualifying session, but the key is going to be in the race. Can Charlie Collins convert that position? And what are the teammates going to do? How are the teammates going to play in this? Because, as I say, we haven't seen Porsche Coranda and Verstappen Sim Racing together yet in a group, and so far they've just run away, at times anyway, have run away with the group, but there's a real chance for some proper teamwork here as they go against each other for the first time.
But things such as bump drafting are not allowed, so I guess not so much of an issue at this track, but there are still 5 straights, let's call it. They often have a lot of kinks around this track, but there's still 5 flat out straight sections where the drafting will be quite important. So if you can get your teammate bumper to bumper, you can at least push them, but you can't actually bump draft and make contact with them NASCAR style. You need to be just leaving a little bit of room and just using that aero push, taking the air off their rear diffuser. It's going to be a very exciting race though around Sebring, because it's always fast and frantic. There's big long straights with big heavy braking zones, so there's a lot of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, there certainly is. As they all come to a stop in the warm-up session, a very brief warm-up before we get into the race itself. You can see Stanford Strokes is coming to a stop there. No, just seeing some of them were actually just stopping for the sake of it there. They'll carry on for a couple of seconds longer in practice before we get into the first race of the day. A reminder of where the big teams are in the standings heading into today. Verstappen Sim Racing leading the points by 7 ahead of TC Esports after the first 2 rounds of the season, first 4 races of the season. The RENNSPORT Grandmaster team are here. They are in tied 3rd place at the moment. Also in this group, Porsche Coanda, who are just in that final qualifying spot in 6th position. It's the other teams like SimNation PXN Racing and Referox Esports who really do need to try and get some points on the board, because there's only a couple of rounds to go, only about 4 races for you to get into that top 6, which is very much beginning to be defined here at the very front of the field. For those who are already inside the top 6, just make sure you don't do anything stupid, anything silly. Make sure you're still there by the end of the day and still therefore in the qualifying spots. 9 laps in each race here tonight in RENNSPORT R1's visit to Sebring in the hypercars for the very first time. Charlie Collins though on pole, a script we've very much seen before. He's got Enzo Benito alongside him on the front row of this grid. You can see their 2 respective teammates directly behind them on the grid as the long hold finally comes to a close, and it is a strong start from Collins. He's able to get in front of Benito fairly easily on the way towards turn number 1, and a bit of a gap indeed back to Rogers and Siggy, who also don't switch places. In fact, the top 6 have not switched places at all. Going down towards turn 3, they'll all get single file through the first sector in a very orderly start.
Not what I was expecting. I thought there was going to be some big sends up the inside of turn 1. It's so wide there. Oh, and off onto the left-hand car, sliding around, but I think they'll be okay in the end. Through the big bend, down in towards the hairpin. He's going to be Sobrero. Is he going to be taking a move on his teammate Olash? You know, he's going to sit in behind. That is the thing to do, because you don't want to let the top 4 drivers get away. It is currently Siggy, that car in 4th, that they're trying to chase down.
Yeah, Kimi Happler it was. Someone was trying to race on a microwave back there and weren't staying connected very well. So they've gone, and that's no surprise. Thankfully, we don't have that car flying around anymore. And Dominic Landler now forced to fight alone. And for the RENNSPORT Grandmaster team, that is not what they needed. They are 30 points above the cut line of the RENNSPORT, the first RENNSPORT community team. The 3rd team, by the way, only 5 points behind them. They're all in Group B with big chances to gain points. And when you do have such a strong group, you need to sort of limit the damage. At the moment, it could hardly be going worse for the RENNSPORT Grandmaster team, at least in the opening lap.
Yeah, this is not the start to the race they wanted. Fair enough, Ladler not having the best in terms of the qualifying after that spin, coming out of this very corner onto the back straight, but then to lose your second driver on the opening lap, that is tough out there, and they're not going to be getting many points, at least from this race, but they do have a second one coming up a bit later on. But to end first lap, Charlie Collins still leads by 3/4 of a second.
A very, very orderly start to begin the night's racing at Sebring. Group A, the first race that Group A will have. They'll, after this, I'd imagine, go off into their own servers and begin practicing or refreshing their memory of Monza with no chicane before they do battle once again. In case you're wondering, by the way, with the point system, a first versus third is, well, I don't want to say significantly better, but it is a few points better off than a second and a 4th. Obviously, there you can see the live points. Verstappen Sim Racing won't be that bothered about that because they're gathering points over TC Esports. Both of their drivers are ahead of both TC Esports drivers, and so the gap will be up to 21 as opposed to the 7 it would have been at the start of the day. So the gap tripling in just one race. I think that's what Verstappen Sim Racing will probably be focused on, and so they might well be fine with this scenario, even though they are losing points to Porsche Coanda right now.
Yeah, Porsche Coanda, of course, jumping up from 6th to 3rd, but that's not including the fact that Mouse and BS Competition are not in this group, so they basically don't have the points in that live standing, so they'll be getting them later. So still a good job from Porsche Coranda though to be first and third as it stands here on lap number 2. This is what they need to do to regain from that double disqualification. That's the thing, is it wasn't even just one car, it's double basically from both races. Really losing out after a very strong performance at the double Le Mans round just a couple of weeks ago. It seems like Roger's not able to look on the back of Enzo Benito just yet in terms of making it a 1-2.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that about both cars being disqualified. It just shows the sort of, well, we speak often about practice for these events and how it's good to sometimes have a teammate to practice with, keep you interested. You can compete against each other in practice sessions, but also you can lead each other down the wrong path. And unfortunately, that's what happened there for Porsche Coranda, who've got some work to do. But as you can see with that graphic there, they're comfortably inside the top 6 again. By the way, a maximum score from one race is 36. So if you see a gap of over 36, then you know they're in a good place, and that's what Porsche Coranda do indeed have. They've got a gap of 42 right now over Community Team 1. Would it still be 17 behind Miles. They're in the same group. That is a mistake from Augustin Turlassi coming down in towards the hairpin. That's the first positional change we've seen inside the top 6 in a very orderly race so far at the front. Turlassi making a mistake, an unforced error you'd say, and luckily only has to hand over fifth to his teammate.
The biggest issue is now he's got Stan Vliestra on the back of him as well for Referix, so that is not an ideal situation. Fair enough, lose the place to your teammate, but now he's got extra pressure alongside, and it is one of those situations where it is a race where TC would have come into this thinking, yep, we just need to get 5th and 6th with the 2 teams ahead of them. That is the maximum really that they can expect on a standard race, so Turlassi dropping out the top 6 would not be very favourable at all, but it looks like Turlassi's been able to regain that confidence on this next lap, and he's been able to hold off from Stan as it sits. And Vlistra's teammate, by the way, Soppenham, has had some issues on about 1 lap ago. He's dropped off the back 11 seconds from Ladler, who himself is 23 seconds behind Soprich. So I wonder if something happened between those 2 drivers, because it was around the same time they both dropped back that far.
Yeah, and it very much feels this week like for those 2 teams especially, but there are others who are the same, it feels like last chance saloon here this week. I mean, I mentioned the 36-point thing, but and actually that they would be mathematically out if it remains the way it is. Simulation PXM Racing, for example, are 38 off, and they're in 9th place in the standings. So for some of these teams, because there's only 2 races to go after tonight is done, it really feels to me like absolute last chance saloon, and unfortunately they're scrapping with each other down the back of the field, and none of those teams who are outside the top 6 in the standings are inside the top 6 in this race. And Daniel Rattes is just really struggling to get a handle on this Peugeot, he spins it back round again and gets going, and thankfully only loses a position to his teammate, but that was a driver there who did not have much control over that car.
Yeah, came in all slided into the hairpin. Probably had a bit too much surface temps as well. By the time that he then tried to get back on the power, the tyre's like, no, we're still overheated and not giving him the grip that he would have wanted. It's a very tricky corner, to be honest, very bumpy in the braking zone, and is actually a lot tighter than it looks, because that curb sort of pinches you on the exit as well. On the track map, it almost looks like a 90-degree corner, but no, it really is a hairpin style corner. And he has fortunately kept that 9th position though, because Ladler dropped so far behind as it currently stands here. Lap 4 going on to lap 5, halfway through this first race of the night.
We are pretty much. And so far it has been very, very orderly. And I think one of the reasons for that is the comfortability, I guess, of the top 6 right now in the team standings. And on a normal day, Siggy would be bending over backwards here to try and get past Josh Rogers and take some points off him, and you know, even just for bragging rights really, get one over on Porsche Coranda, as these two do have such a rivalry, such a great matchup down the years in sim racing, as we've already talked about. But there's just not that much incentive for them at the moment. They're even still in first place in the standings right now. They're not even being caught by TC Esports, so it's a real situation where actually Siggy might not end up going for this move throughout this race, because there isn't really much incentive for him to do that right now. Let's see if he entertains us later on, but at the moment there doesn't seem much point.
Yeah, every point counts, and that would be a 2-point gain, but I guess technically a 4-point gain because he'd gain 2 and Rogers would lose 2, so it's kind of a 4-point position. However, with where they are, they don't really need those 4 points right now, so risk reward, that is what the drivers always have to weigh up, especially in esports competitions. It's like you want to just make sure that you're getting into the finals as easily as possible, and you don't want to be risking having a crash, losing potentially the 12 points that he's got right now, and that would be not ideal. He looks pretty calm at the moment, actually, in terms of he's not swinging his head around. He's not really looking to be getting past Rogers, but I think it is one of those things like we saw in qualifying. The lap times are so close between these drivers. You have to find pick your moment. You have to find your spot to overtake. And if Rogers is putting on every apex, then that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it does make it very, very difficult, especially around here at Sebring in these hypercars. I mean, we're yet to see to my memory, which is sometimes dodgy, we're yet to see a GT3 race around here at Sebring at R1 competitions, official R1 competition. I know we have other events and stuff, but these hypercars are even faster than those are, and it feels like these straights are just not quite that long to actually see moves here, really. Although we didn't see as much drafting, I suppose, as you might expect to see at Le Mans, because they were all topping out on high speed, so or terminal velocity, really. So it really just depends track by track. But at the moment, as you said, the qualifying gaps are so small, that gave us a window into what was going to happen here. And in the next 3 laps, it may well stay like this. Charlie Collins, though, is extending the gap over Enzo Benito. It's over 2 seconds now. Maybe the most impressive of the drives here, that he's able to extend that, even despite really that they are so close across the board.
Yeah, I think so. He looks like he's one of the fastest drivers in RENNSPORT R1 right now, and to come back from the disappointment of the result in terms of the I guess on the road, he's still got the good results, so he knows he's got the speed in the car, but the fact that the points are not there. But having said that, Rogers is now finally getting into the draft of Benito. Benito's having to defend in towards Sunset Bend, all the way around the outside. Rogers is going to go, maybe to get the up and under down the front straight.
He's been working on this for a while, and Josh Rogers is now going for it. That's a much better exit out of Sunset Bend, although he didn't seem quite that impressed with it, and he's going to need quite a healthy dose of slipstream here to get anywhere close towards turn 1. Outside line is going to switch to the inside if he could stay that and hold that line, but he can't quite do it, and Benito holds on. But I think that's a perfect description, really, of what we've been saying. You can make moves around here, and we've seen the attempt there, but really, to get it started, you do need to rely on a mistake from the driver in front of you, and those are few and far between.
What that has done is extended the lead by almost a second. It's about 9/10 was the gain over that. It was really just a quarter of a lap. They were just having a little bit of a ding-dong, not necessarily side by side, but focusing on each other. And Charlie Collins extended his gap once again on that lap 6 onto lap 7 now, and it certainly looks like this is the most likely position to change as it stands. So Roger just makes a tiny bit of a mistake there coming out of Cunningham, loses a car length or 2, working up towards an important section of the track to get close once again down the back straight, but Benito gets through tower turn very nice.
Yeah, he seems to have got this back under control again after seeming like he'd lost it about this time last lap through Le Mans corner. And Rogers not quite on the apex the way he would have wanted there either. It's an unusual position to be in here watching Josh Rogers at the moment, because for Porsche Coanda, they're still doing a very good job overall as a team. However, he is consistently being outperformed by Charlie Collins, and yes, he was able to take a race victory. Last time out was Josh Rogers, but that was in a 1-2 with Collins. This time out, he's right in amongst it with Benito and Siggy. Actually, Kevin Siggy is closer to him than Rogers is to Benito coming on to the penultimate lap of this race. So it's an unusual position to see one of the greatest, in some people's eyes, the greatest of all time, just struggling a little bit at the moment.
Yes, I guess I just showed you how close the field is now, and of course, yes, the stats don't lie in terms of Rogers being one of the best, but as always, you have to race the race that you're doing right now, and if Benito was able to get his car ahead and keep ahead on that opening lap, that puts him in prime position to get this second place. To lose another 4/10 on that previous lap as well, as Benito is still probably focusing a little bit more on his rear view mirror than he is on the front of the road. And also, just to give you an update, in behind Sabrera and Tolashi, they're still there 6 seconds back, and Fleetstra unfortunately has dropped off by 2 seconds. So Tolashi, after being under threat, looks like that P6 is secure.
Yeah, it does indeed. So again, a very orderly look to this at the moment. The Porsche Coanders and Verstappen Sim Racing's mobbing the top 4, comfortably ahead of the TC Sports guys, who are consolidating a nice championship position there. And then you've got the others. Well, they'll be struggling to really get too much from this, to be honest. Take too many positives from this race, to be honest, being in the bottom 6 here through the final turn. And on to the final lap for Charlie Collins, and then the rest of them. On board we go with Josh Rogers as he tries to get close to Enzo Benito. It kind of felt to me there, that move through Sunset Bend a couple of laps ago was as if to say, well, I'll take the position if you're going to offer it to me, but I'm not going to risk life and limb trying to get this second place away. He wants to preserve third at the moment, Rogers, and just getting to the end, picking up some solid points rather than going all out for what realistically is only a couple of points up the road here.
Yeah, and not quite close enough for a final lap send. Riding on board with Josh Rogers down in towards the hairpin, and it is a little bit wide for Benito. And I mean, just locking the rear end there for Rogers. Is that going to open the door actually to Ziggy in behind? No, it's actually 4/10. Not going to be quite close enough to capitalise on that. Up in towards Cunningham, but definitely showing you that Rogers is still pushing, to be honest, and having some issues there with that rear end.
Well, he is. You see it so often in these hypercars on RENNSPORT, the way you really rag these cars around. On a tower corner, and it looks like he's going to be fine. He's just going to avoid an error here through the final sector, and on the way towards Sunset Bend he'll know whether or not he'll be safe from Kevin Siggy, the former World Cup winner. Through the final turns, yeah, he would be fine here, Rogers. So he holds on to a top 3, but meantime out front his teammate Charlie Collins is, well, looked like he was already on relaxing mode again after really putting in a performance in race number 1. Race 1 of Group A here at Sebring tonight goes to Charlie Collins as his magnificent RENNSPORT R1 season continues. Barely a reaction from him as he comes over the line. He knows that Porsche Coander have a little bit of a way to go just to make themselves absolutely safe here tonight, but that is a very good start to it. And the others who are in this group, TC Sports, Verstappen Sim Racing, also consolidating their places pretty comfortably as well. With the bottom 3 teams here down the bottom end there, all of a sudden looking, their membership in this and their prospects of making that top 6 are getting very, very slim now.
Yeah, indeed. The gap is increasing, and it is a very sort of harsh cliff that will happen with the amount of points you get for sort of the top 4, top 5 positions compared to what we get in the bottom 4, bottom 5. So yeah, if they're not getting it tonight, then that's going to be putting them under jeopardy of getting in towards that final. It's the top 6 that we are focusing on, but of course we still have the Group B to come, and they have not got those points on the board, so the gaps will close up a bit.
Yeah, well, these are the final race results then. Charlie Collins winning by 3.8 seconds in front of Enzo Benito. Josh Rogers and Kevin Siggy completing that pattern through the top 4 for those 2 teams. The TC Sports drivers, Trevor Sabrera and Augustin Tolashi, were next to Sam Vlietstra, the first of the Refrox drivers. The 2 Simulation Picks and Racing drivers next, Oscar Soprich, followed by Daniel Rates. Dominic Ladlow was the final driver to finish. Juha Soppanen got a bit further into the race than Kimi Happelert, who barely started before things started to go wrong for him. Let's have a chat now, shall we, to the race winner from Sebring tonight, Charlie Collins. Congratulations, Charlie, on another victory in 2026. I mean, that looked perhaps your most comfortable yet. You can correct me if that's any different, but how was that race there, just staying concentrated and pulling the quite large margin, really, in the end that you did?
Hey, fellas. Yeah, it all ended up pretty smoothly. Qualifying was pretty close. I think only a few hundredths in it, but yeah, after the start and after turn 1, I kind of knew just to look forward and not look behind, and yeah, I think you saw the rest.
I mean, what's the mindset coming into this round? Because when we left the broadcast last time out, you were comfortable at the top of the standings, having won all the races from Le Mans. Obviously, with the disqualifications, that suddenly makes the point system, or the point standings, going into today, look very, very different. Still in the top 6, but far less comfortable. What's the mindset shift been like this week, heading into this round of the championship after all that's gone on?
I mean, look, personally, I can't control it. I will just drive, do my job, and that's what I did here. So, yeah, that's all my mindset was just to do the best I possibly could, and yeah, I think I did that.
Fine. Congratulations, Charlie, on the win in Sebring here tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you out there at Monza as well.
Thanks, Ewan.
Thanks very much, Charlie Collins. And also joining us is teammate Josh Rogers, who finished in 3rd. Josh, welcome in as well. A 1-3 for you guys. I was trying to decide how badly you wanted to get that 2nd place there as we were watching that fight. Was it a case of you were fine with 3rd place, or, unless it was sort of given to you? Or were you really going for that there?
I guess. Yeah, no, like I was going to try and get the job done, but I was also worried about getting backed up into Kevin. So I had that one go, and yeah, from that point on, it wasn't really worth taking the risk anymore. Ultimately, it's a qualifying series. Winning here doesn't help us for the final, so just scoring points and getting through.
And like I just discussed with Charlie, getting through made a little bit more difficult with the disqualifications in the week. Just again, how has that maybe impacted your mindset going into the 3rd round of this championship?
Well, it makes you a little bit unclear on the rules, doesn't it? The rulebook says one thing, you abide by that, and yeah, you end up getting disqualified. And when, yeah, I don't know, it's challenging because rulebooks are there to make sure that everything is, black and white. But in racing, we all know it's never just that. So we press on, and like I say, we just try and score good points to get us through to the end. Obviously, now we're 2 rounds short, which makes it harder, but I'm confident we can still get it done.
Yeah, well, this will certainly have made it a lot more comfortable. Congrats on 3rd place for yourself individually, Josh, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Josh Rogers, 3rd place at Sebring, and those point scenarios that he was talking about look a little bit like this. That's a race, Cam, that Porsche Commander really needed, because before the day, 15 points, you're looking at a slightly nervous final couple of rounds if things went wrong tonight, but that's the best possible start, because I know that Community Team 1 haven't been yet, and they have the chance to do that right now in Group 2. However, Porsche Commander are 42 points ahead, and if they can hold that margin through Monza as well, or indeed through the next 2 races, they'll be above that 36 point maximum for a round as well. So it's looking pretty good for them, or at least nerves will be settled there now.
Yes, absolutely. They'll be feeling a little bit more confident coming in towards the final round in a couple of weeks' time as well, just knowing the fact that they're going to be able to score the points today. So it'll be quite a bit different if the disqualification was in round 3 rather than round 4. But yes, that was exactly what they needed. Got the points back on the board. We did need to take the risk for the 2 points, and now they are looking good as we come in towards Group B, race number 1 of the night. Of course, 6 different teams out here. We've got Community Team 1, BS Competition, Mouse, Community Team 3, RENNSPORT, Grandmasters, and EMM, who are we going to be seeing, obviously, in this qualifying session. Maurice Lerner, though, he goes to the front of the 2nd lap.
Yeah, wearing a new Miles outfit, or at least one I've not seen before. Looks like it's a bit too hot to be wearing the collared shirt to me, but anyway, never mind. We'll maybe talk to you about that later. Nico Nuninghoff makes a bit of a mess of that final turn, but he's gone very well in the first 2 sectors. And he's still going to be able to get ahead of Moritz Lerner. That was not the ideal final corner, but Nuninghoff still does enough.
Remember, we got into the 41s with the likes of Charlie Collins in the previous group, so there is still time left out there on the circuit. Could it be Will Chadwick for EMM Esports? He's currently not looking like that in the first couple of sectors. 3/10 down, no purples out there, and he's still got this final tricky sector to go through the high-speed chicane, and this is certainly a tough part. Oh, he's looking up to the sky as well in disbelief of how bad this lap is going to be.
Well, he messaged me beforehand to say if my qualifying lap is no good, it's because I took a hydration break halfway through it. He's setting himself up for failure, is Will Chadwick, going into this qualifying session, as he often does, but even when he's going quite well. But unfortunately, that was a bad run through Le Mans. And there you go, and he's only half a second away from Nuninghoff. The reaction would have you believe he was maybe a bit further away than that. But yeah, that wasn't bad for Chadwick. Moving into third place to see where the others can go here, see if they can go any faster. Robbie Stapleford up towards the line here. And he is, I think, going to get pretty close here to Nuninghoff, maybe second. Oh no, he just jumped over Nuninghoff and go to the pole.
Yeah, purple final sector just got it done by half a tenth of a second. Here's now Max Benecke, of course, your winner way back when, back in Katowice, the very first winner here in R1 competition. And now here in 2026, what can he do? 7th driver out, purple in that first sector, seemingly lost some time in the middle. Can he regain it up towards the line? For Mouse, it's going to be a 43.1, not quite enough. And he's going to be on the second row of his teammate.
Is for now maybe a little bit of a concern for Miles there, because there's some top drivers to come. Let's see where Schroeder is going to get to here in the next couple of moments through the final turn. Trying to map out where his sectors are going to put him very, very wide, and you can see him slightly wobbling through that final sector there as well, catching the car, and it is going to be 6th place, just in front of his teammate Yannick Bigler. But yeah, that will be a bottom half of the field start for both of those two.
And here comes Gianotta, who is, of course, the second of our PlayStation drivers out there. You can see by the third icon in the tower. Got a couple of PlayStation guys. Got Bigler and Gianotta, but of course a lot of PC domination out there. Let's see what he can do. And coming up towards the line, this is going to be... Oh, he's actually miles off, isn't he? He's had not the best lap there. It's going to be a 51 that he's going to set. He's going to be on the back row.
I didn't realise that either. He looked to be going towards the end of the lap there with some purpose, but no, he was 9 seconds off the pace. Here comes Cody Nikolakowski, not known for his RENNSPORT exploits, but he's been improving throughout the season. Over the line, and that's perhaps his most solid yet. 3rd place in qualifying in front of both the Miles drivers. That is impressive.
Yeah, that certainly is. Lakowski is definitely no slouch, maybe more new to the RENNSPORT R1 competition, but on other platforms, he's one of the fastest drivers and really just getting a grips to this. Look how close it is up towards the front. Not quite as fast as Group A, but still very close lap times. Here's Max Den up towards the line. It's only going to be 8th place as he loses some time there.
Now then, Kaiki Oliveira could well spring a late lap here on the rest of the field. Robbie Stapleford, his teammate, is on pole, so BS competition are guaranteed pole position for somebody, but who's it going to be? It might be Kaiki Oliveira taking it right at the very end. Let's see if this lap time's good enough. It's over the line, and it is good enough from Kaiki Oliveira. He takes pole at Sebring by, in the end, more than 2/10 of a second in front of Robbie Stapleford.
So in the end, it's a BS competition front row. We've got Oliveira leading Stapleford at the front. Nuninghoff is going to be there for Grandmasters in 3rd position. And Lakowski is in 4th. The two Mouses are on the 3rd row with Chadwick, Schroeder, Den, Bigler, Caruana and Gianotta at the back after a slow lap, let's say 6 seconds off the back of the field. But they'll be all lining up. Mouse there. Of course, they are currently sitting around the cut line due to the fact of not Porsche Carrera, the team behind them, scoring all the points in that first race. They need to try and do that, but for BS competition, this is also an important one. They were coming into the night tied 3rd with the RENNSPORT Grandmaster team, who they have out-qualified. So this is a good chance to gain some points.
Well, it absolutely is. Especially with the strength of the first group, I would say Group B is a real opportunity anyway, no matter what the scenarios for these individual teams are. The strength of this second group, although there's still some very good drivers in it, is a real opportunity for some of these teams to get points where they maybe otherwise would have done. And now, repeat what I said earlier on about the point scenarios, because it is so close to the end now. We're in the second half of the season, of a short season, so we're close to the end. Everyone's going to be thinking about points. The minimum objective, to my mind, is make sure that you're not out of contention totally after this week's racing. Make sure you've still got at least a slim hope going into the final round. And there's a lot of the teams in this second group who fall into the category of just making sure that they can hold on to some form of slim hope, because if they let it get away from them, they'll be eliminated very quickly.
They certainly will. It will turn around and bite you very, very quickly indeed, as the drivers get themselves ready for 9 laps of action here. The first race of Group B here tonight, and it is going to be BS Competition on that front row. They are looking strong, but they potentially are a team that you could say haven't always capitalised on every opportunity that they have got in this competition. But it is a tough one out there at the front. But with Verstappen, Sim Racing, and also Porsche Grinder in the other group, what an opportunity to get a 1-2 tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. They've put themselves in the best possible starting position here. You see the end of practice there, and Kike Oliveira just gathering his thoughts before we get this second race at Sebring, but first race for Group B underway. And I think, given the fact they've taken that 1-2 in qualifying, it's an absolute minimum that one of them goes on and wins this race. If not, they end up getting a 1-2 finish here tonight. Let's wait and see. But there's going to be plenty of teams and drivers trying to stop them from doing that. And Mouse, who are also starting together on the grid, will be one of those teams aiming to stop them from doing that.
As we hit the grid here in Sebring, it is Group B, race number 1, and BS Competition gets us underway. It's a great start from Stableford on the outside line, who's going to be challenging his teammate down in towards the first corner, but Oliveira should hold that on the inside, and he certainly does. Sweeps it into the very fast turn 1, goes a little bit wide, but should be able to hold on. And in the background, it was one of the Mouse guys, Morris Lerner, I think, going really wide. Might have dropped down, but no, just held it on into 5th place.
Yeah, an orderly start again, although slightly less so, I guess, than Group A. A little bit of fighting through that first sector before they get now through Big Bend and towards the hairpin. Here they come, and will there be anything here for the top 2? No, but Luninghoff pretty close with those in behind, and no, they'll stay in line. So yeah, an orderly start again here, and this time in Group B.
All over the grass on the exit for Max Beneke as he works his way through the hairpin up towards Letkovsky, though, who's looking racy in 4th position. Makes Nuningov defend a little bit down in towards Cunningham. He goes wide. Is that going to open up the opportunity? Because this is a really difficult section to keep flat out, especially on the initial couple of kinks. A big send down the inside, maybe no, just putting the pressure on Nuningov, but he still makes it to the apex, so he's able to hold on to that one, and Letkovsky keeps 4th.
Yeah, but I mean, Latkovsky has been the one in this opening lap who's looked most likely, I think, in the top half of the field to actually do something here. Nuninghoff just only just in front, and is already creating a bit of a train. You can see that going on behind them right now. Look at the amount of guys queuing up here. Nuninghoff needs to focus forward a little bit here, because the defending is only inviting more pressure from Latkovsky and the others.
Certainly is, and I wonder how this race is going to go with a few more teams swapped in there at the front. It's not 2x2 like we saw in that opening race of the night. Lap 1 comes to the end. Oliveira leads by 1/4 of a second from Stableford, and they've got over a second back to Nuningov in that 3rd position. So the 2 BS Competition cars looking very strong out the front from the front row.
Yeah, they are indeed. I reckon they'll probably go on and win this 1-2 now with the defending from Nuninghoff. There it is again in towards turn 3. Latkovsky not able to get past him there, and again Latkovsky is going to be thinking about not opening himself up to Beneke and Lerner, who are just in behind him here. That's the real problem that Latkovsky's got here with making a move. He'd be a little bit more adventurous if he didn't have Beneke so close to him in the running of this race.
And I think just with how close the qualifying was, I'm sure the 2 Mouse guys are going to be ruining the fact that they were behind Nuningov and Latkovsky, because they have no way of really challenging the BS Competition cars. There was only 6 points between BS Competition and Mouse coming into this race, and now with a couple of cars in the middle, that gap is going to grow up to maybe about 10 points. We'll have to see, or 10 points extra from this race, maybe 16 in total. By the time we get to the end of this race, we'll certainly find that one out. It's going to be even more actually with just the gain of points that you get up towards the front, and it is going to be 26 points the gap. That is pretty crazy considering it was just 6 points at the start of this race.
Yeah, indeed. This is the point of the season where these sorts of swings start to happen here, or indeed are we going to see this front 6 just stay as they are? You can see Porsche Granda just slipping back to 5th with BS Competition and Grandmaster Team doing well enough here to get back ahead of them. Yeah, Mao's now the ones who are back on that cut line again. Only 5th and 6th. And I mean, in a group like this, they should be expecting to do better than 5th and 6th. I know Moritz Lerner has struggled really this season, and struggling generally, I think, on RENNSPORT at the moment. But you expect a little bit better from Max Benneker at the moment, who is stuck behind Cody Nikolakowski. It really is up to Benneker to gain some of these places for Maus.
And of course, we're speaking about Maus, but the Grandmaster are also a very interesting team in this one, and that is Nuningov's team in 3rd place, currently ahead of course, Benneker and Lerner, and they has Lakowski in the middle of that. So this is really good from Grandmaster, who will be, of course, getting back ahead of Porsche Coanda in terms of the points as well. This could be a strong race. And Maxi Den there in 7th place just needs to sit there, or maybe find a way past one of the mouse cars or so, and then they're going to be looking really, really strong to make sure they're keeping inside this top 6 in the standings.
Yeah, indeed, the all-important top 6. That's what you need to qualify. We spoke to Josh Rogers in between these two races, that he was talking about this having no bearing on the finals themselves, other than the fact that you're going to be there. I suppose that means they do have a bearing, don't it? But anything other than that, and there's nothing really to be gained here. Just be in the top 6. Very much at the moment, also in this race, seems that Community Team 1 have got the only realistic chance of actually getting inside that top 6 ahead of anyone who's in there right now. Cody Nikolakowski playing his role in that, in 4th place in this race. Cristiano Gianotta could do with being maybe a place or two higher up. You see him on the back of this train, needing positions and points back there as well.
Yeah, in terms of the point standings, you look at EMM, they're back 11th and 12th in this race, having some struggles, and they're 10th place in the standings. But the important factor is they're 59 points behind Maus, and there's only 3 races later. One tonight, another in a couple of weeks, and then that's it. So to gain 59 points on Maus, that's going to be a tough one when they've been struggling so far. So this could be EMM effectively out of the competition if they can't turn this one around when we get to Monza in about half an hour's time.
I mean, it's such a surprise as well. I can't really believe the season that EMM are having. They've only just got into 10th again with this race, getting ahead of Refrox only just by 1 point. They're such a top team, and at the moment, just not clicking for them. Again, not from RENNSPORT particularly, but we know Matt Caruana, and he's struggling right now. Will Chadwick being at the back of the field is slightly unusual. Again, we know his prowess on other sims, and we know he has already done all 1 events before. So it's puzzling, really. EMM are the big surprises for me, if you like. They probably would have been in my top 6 instead of the Grandmasters, to be honest, at the start of the season. But at the moment, they're just nowhere near the top 6 at the moment. They're not really anywhere near being competitive.
I agree on that. They have the talent to be able to do that, but I guess the top 6 teams is the top 12 drivers, and that becomes a very small class of drivers, to be honest, doesn't it? Not too many are able to get themselves in towards the final, and it's a really tough competition out there. Actually, when the race gets going, it is very, very difficult. But at the front, we are seeing the 2 BS competition cars. Stableford's kept it within 1 second, but they have just pulled away from Nuningov by, over 2 seconds now. So I guess a second and a half, the gap between Stableford and Nuningov. So it's definitely a strong race for BS competition, exactly what they needed, because they're only 4 points now off second in the team standings.
Yeah, remarkable turnaround. Absolutely remarkable, because they weren't really anywhere near TC Sports at the start of the day. BS competition were in 4th place in the standings, although that was a tied 3rd, really. 28 behind TC Sports. That's a very, very big gain for BS competition to have made here, and they're not doing it only just. We're over halfway through this race, and the gap's 2.5 seconds to Nuningov, who has finally relieved some of that pressure on him. So it's a very, very impressive thing for not only the points tally for BS, but also the pace that they've had while doing it as well.
Yes, it's not always a day where you get both of your drivers at the front for a 1-2. We even saw in the previous race, Porsche Coanda couldn't do that as a 1-3. So for BS competition to take advantage of this is very, very good indeed. As lap 5 going to be coming on to lap 6, so 2/3 of this opening race for Group B are going to be completed, and Oliveira from that pole position, he had a couple of tenths there in the pole, and now he's got a second in terms of the race as well. It doesn't look like Lekowski's going to be able to challenge Nuninghoff, so it is going to be all about Beneke trying to get on the back of Lekowski to try and regain some points. An extra 7 points would put them tied with Porsche Coanda, but I don't see how they're going to get that 7 points very, very easily in this race.
It's going to probably require them both to move up places. They might get Lekowski, and then they'd only be 4th and 5th, and still quite a long way behind Nuninghoff. So, yeah, I'm not sure that is going to happen. And just the fingernails will be getting slightly shorter down there, I suspect, to Miles. They won't be worried yet. I mean, we've both spoken to Max Beneke and Moritz Lerner in the past. They're not particularly the type to get so nervous or worried about a point scenario. I think they'd very logically say, well, as long as we're 1 point ahead of the 7th place, then I don't really care. And that may well be the mindset. But it just is getting a little bit closer, and maybe a bit too close for comfort for some. Only 19 points, and it just takes one race where something goes wrong, and you could be in a bit of trouble.
I mean, you've already seen BS Competition, how many points they've gained on TC Sports in one race. That is, just something. If Community Team 1 decide that they want to go fast, Lekowski sneaks a race win, Ginota able to get up inside the top 6. Before you know it, some points could be coming on the board. And we have an interesting race coming up a little bit later. Of course, this is the first races that we are doing in Group A and B, and then we move to Monza, but without the chicanes. There's going to be a very fast run through Curva Grande that the drivers are going to be probably not looking forward to. Is Max Beneke there? Big mistake. It might even be Moritz Lerner to think about making a move, although as they are teammates, they shouldn't be doing anything silly, but what it has done is really let Lekowski off the hook.
It has. You need a building of pressure there from Beneke. He's a strong driver and could really put pressure on someone like Lekowski, who hasn't got as much experience in RENNSPORT as someone like Beneke has. And so that pressure, all of that build-up, it's just relieved now. And with less than 3 laps to go, it's pretty unlikely that these Miles guys are actually going to make the pass. Because to be honest, here at Sebring, the overtaking in these hypercars has been very, very difficult so far.
Yes, definitely more than I was expecting. To be honest, I thought the longer straights there was enough time to make some moves, but it has been a little bit difficult. These cars are very, very fast, and they get off the corners very quickly as well. So if you can't quite make the move, then your rival head just gets that extra car length or so on the exit. You really have to be pushing on them and forcing them into a mistake. We've seen it a few times, to be honest, so it is possible. You see Moritz Lerner here, not able to keep up with Beneke just yet. And Maxi Den, Nuninghoff's teammate, actually, for the for the Grand Masters team, currently 4th place in the team standings. That could be an interesting one to sneak another couple of points away from Mouse.
As I say, it takes a couple of these moments and a few more points lost, and sometimes it can get a little bit nervy for Miles late on. Let's keep pointing them out, because I see them at the moment as the most likely to fall outside the top 6. Not that I think it is likely, but just more than the other 5. I mean, the next one up is Porsche Coanda, who are still going strong despite their disqualification from the 2nd round, and Grandmaster team doing decently well as well. Haven't seen Maximilian Ten too much in this race, but a solid 7th place to complement Nico Nuninghoff's 3rd. Yeah, this is an unusual scenario for Mouse to be in. This is a team that should be fighting for the overall title, really, and at the moment they are not making they're making a bit of a meal of qualifying for the final at the moment.
Sometimes it's not easy, but as long as you get yourself across the line, that is the important bit. But you're right, I was expecting a bit more pace from that team, but it is tough out there and tricky cars to drive. Of course, new to the platform as well. And new to R1 competition, so definitely a little bit of a different vibe out there from the previous GT3 machinery that we used for a good 3 years, and plenty of competitions. I mean, you've seen all the stats at the bottom of the screen. Some drivers doing well over 100 races, all in the GT3 machines, and now swapping to the hypercar, certainly a different type of race out there.
Yeah, remarkable history to R1 in these GT3s. We're going to start to build up a history of hypercar results, so we'll start to compare and contrast who's done better in what. As the RENNSPORT R1 competition gets a little bit older, and generally competitions on RENNSPORT do get a little bit older, we can start to compare a little bit and see who's good at what, with the options available to you now on RENNSPORT. As Kaki Oliveira, who was strong in the GT3s and just going well in these hypercars right now tonight, is seeing the last lap on this first race of his night as well. Lap 9 here at Sebring for him. And, well, this has been one of the more comfortable ones too. This has been Porsche Coanda-esque, I would say.
BS competition. Group B, race 1 winners. Let's see if they can complete the lap to be able to do that. That would be a great result for this team. They're going to be third place in the standings, just 4 points behind TC Esports as well. And TC Esports have big competition in Group A. They're going to have to race against Porsche Coanda and Verstappen Sim Racing a second time tonight, whereas BS competition potentially get 2-1-2s tonight, and they will be able to overtake TC Esports. This could be a big night for them to jump up and effectively confirm themselves in the top 6, because they are now 49 points away from the 7th place team, and they're looking very strong by Kaki Oliveira. Oh no! Big moment here for Lerner, and he's going to collect Den as well. That is a really not ideal. So Gianotto, I should say, not Den, getting involved in that one, and Lerner goes to the back.
Well, I was saying earlier just how little of a mistake it can take for your situation to get worse. Now, Gianotto getting slowed down actually helped Miles as well, but drama on the final lap of this race for Miles and Moritz Lerner.
Wow, that is it's a big shame for Community Team 1 that their driver was involved. Back to the front though, and Oliveira around the final corner is going to win from the pole position, and not only that, it's a 1-2 for BS competition as they take victory here for race number 1 of Group B at round 3 of the R1 season for 2026, and Oliveira should be happy with that one. That was a commanding victory at the front.
A round of applause that he gave to himself, and Robbie Staplewood there said it all. This is a big result for BS competition tonight, and they'll be very pleased to make this scenario just that little bit more comfortable for themselves going into the final 3 races of this season. BS competition only 4 points behind TC Esports now, so even the race for second for them is on.
So here is your rundown of the top 12 drivers, as Oliveira, Stableford and Nuninghoff getting the podium tonight, and Nuninghoff some very important points for the Grandmasters team. Lakowski will secure 4th place with Max Benecker in 5th. Unfortunately, his teammate Lerner, with that mistake on the final lap, is not there. So it's Maxi Den who gets 6th place, and that is once again some good points for Grandmaster. 2 cars inside the top 6. And then we have Community Team 3. We've got Schroeder and Bigler. They're 7th and 8th place with EMM. 2 cars in a row, 9th and 10th. And the only reason why they're not last is that contact between Lerner and Gianotta in the end sees them at the back of the field. And of course, we'll try and take a look at the team standings, which leaves us, after all of the teams doing a race tonight, it is Verstappen Sim Racing leading by 21 points from TC Esports, but BS competition closed the gap, and they're now just 4 points further back. Grandmasters doing a great job in 4th place. And then, of course, Porsche and Mouse, the top 6 teams. Kaiki, of course, a race win here tonight. And not only that, but a 1-2. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, really happy. Hello, guys. Good evening. Hello, everyone. RENNSPORT and everyone watching. Yeah, I'm really happy. I think P1, P2 is the optimal result that we could have asked for. I think, we were confident coming to this race that we could do a good job, even though it's quite short preparation. We quite enjoy Sebring, so I'm happy to win and have Robbie as P2 as well.
Absolutely. As you know, with the track vote and everything, is a bit harder to prepare, but you're obviously looking good out there. So how are you feeling in these hypercars?
Still trying to find something with those hypercars. They're a little bit interesting to drive. I think there's something fundamentally missing, maybe for us to be even better. But I mean, it's something very interesting. I would like to leave it at that.
Of course. And going into the next race, you got Monza without the chicane. That's going to be very fast down towards Curva Grande. Can we see another BS 1-2, considering the likes of Verstappen Sim Racing, Porsche Coanda, they're not in your group tonight?
Very likely we will do everything within our control to make it happen at 1-2 again. But with I think we saw throughout the season the dirty air is very strong, and especially in Sebring with those medium high speed corners, it's really hard to race at all. So in Monza, maybe there's more chance, like in Le Mans, with no chicanes as well, with more chance for everyone. So it will be harder for sure, but we will try our best to make it 1-2 again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kaiki, and well done on your race victory.
Obrigado. Valeu, galera. Ciao, ciao.
Joining us as well, Robbie Stapleford, second place in that 1-2 for BS competition. You've got a big smile on your face, Robbie. It's a big 1-2, isn't it, for BS competition? How did that feel coming across the line together like that?
Yeah, it's good. That was pretty much the plan. Qualify 1-2 and then just bring it home from lap one, really. So that's exactly what we did, and I'm happy to finally get a podium this season and also a 1-2 for the team. It's good.
I can almost sense a relief among you and Kaiki in this. Is that because this makes the point scenario a bit better? Is that just because you as an individual have been sort of searching for these kind of results and now you've got one?
I think a bit of both, really. It makes the other rounds look not that we wasn't trying, but it just makes the bad rounds, especially the first one, what all the effort we've put in has finally paid off. So to get a 1-2 is brilliant for the team. For me to get a podium is brilliant for me. So the confidence going into the next round and the rounds after that is just gone up. So yeah, it's good.
Congratulations, Robbie, on being a part of that 1-2, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the race as well.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Robbie Stapleford in second place and comes with Nico Ninghoff as well.
Yeah, Nico, well done on your podium tonight. Just a quick word of how you feel, because it was quite difficult to chase down the BS guys at the front.
The BS guys had an incredible pace. First of all, hello, guys. Yeah, unbelievable feeling right now. I didn't expect to be so much at the front at the beginning of the championship, but so far 3-time P2 and 1-time P3 now. Important points for the team, for the RENNSPORT team. So yeah, so far so good right now.
Yes, certainly a great result. So thanks for speaking to us, and good luck for race number 2.
Thank you very much.
Very quickly, we jump into qualifying for race number 2 as we hear from those guys from Group B. They'll go and prepare for this, the Monza round of this championship. Monza with no chicane, which is going to be interesting. I mean, they'll be glad about that on lap 1, I suspect, Cam. But the rest of the race, I'm not entirely sure whether they'd like that first chicane back again or not. It's always unusual, isn't it, when you take out a section of corners at a circuit that people know so well.
Certainly. Let's see what the lap times are. So 24.2 there for Tolashi to open us, and we're actually not going to see the removal of that chicane until the race starts, as all the drivers finish their laps, coming in towards the Curva Alboreto, and the final corner is a very tricky one. So fast, but keep it tight. Shortest run to the line. Josh Rogers, purple, first couple of sectors, and up towards the line. It is going to be a 23.4 to take the provisional pole, but plenty of other drivers to go.
Yeah, that's more like the benchmark that we'll be seeing here. See whether Charlie Collins can go any faster than that. That'll be the real battle here. But Stan Blitstra, meantime, is going to come across. If he can get past Torlashi, that would at least be a success for Refrox, I think. Can't really be hoping to challenge among the big names here at the front. Well, the TC Esports are quite a big name. Here comes Blitstra, and it's 24-7. So, yeah, about 5 tenths behind Torlashi. Now, can Collins beat his teammate in qualifying again? This would be remarkable if he can.
So as in the last, let's say year, Collins has been really strong in R1 competition, but to chase down Josh Rogers, that is certainly no mean feat. And up towards the line, he's gone purple in that middle sector. Is it enough? Up towards the line. Oh, yes, it is. By a quarter of a second as well. He goes to the front.
That is a huge margin around here. 1:23 lap times, and most of that is on straights. So that's a real big advantage for Collins. And that makes you wonder, are these Verstappen sim racing drivers going to be able to slot in the middle here? We're going to see Siggy next, then Sobrero, then Soppinen, then Enzo Benito. So here's Siggy over the line, and he does get in the middle of them. This has been, well, choose what you want. Either a very good lap time from Collins or slightly below par for Josh Rogers, or maybe a bit of both. But I'd expect both Verstappen sim racing drivers to slot in between them, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the track's basically 5 corners without that first chicane. So that's half a tenth every corner, which is quite a lot at this level of competition. But, it's always hard to keep it up towards the front. And Sobrero goes to 4th place ahead of his teammate Torlashi by a quarter of a second. Sobrero did finish ahead of him back at Sebring. But Torlashi, there more so a mistake in the race. However, in qualifying here at Monza, Sobrero takes the lead. TC Sports currently second in the championship, of course.
I'd imagine on qualifying that will be 5th and 6th with quite a big gap in front of the man behind them. But let's see. Soppinen comes over the line, and he indeed goes in behind them for Ref Rocks. But here is now one of the big names, the remaining big name, really, Enzo Benito. No purple sectors just at the moment, so it'd be a surprise to see him jump over Collins here, but we have seen that in the past, especially with a good final sector, and it looks like that's what Enzo Benito is aiming for here. He looks up towards, he doesn't know where he's going to be at the moment. He knows it's going to be in the ballpark, and it's 3rd place. The Porsche Coanders have indeed been split this time by both Verstappen sim racing drivers.
Yeah, definitely must have been a mistake on Rogers' lap, which is a bit of a shame for him because he's got some work to do now. And this is an interesting one as well, by the way, because this is the only driver for SimNation PXN, as Oscar Soprich is having some problems in this race. But where can he put himself? He's going to be 7th position, just tucked in there behind Torlashi on the 4th row off the grid in the sole remaining PXN car.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see whether any of these drivers can spring a surprise here. We do have somebody missing, by the way, on the grid as well for PXN, so we'll see if they're in time. But here comes Kimi Happela over the line, and that'll be 9th. And here comes Ladler trying to do something in this session, because so far it was difficult at Sebring for those two.
Oh, it certainly was. So yes, it was Happela having some issues at Sebring, but Soprich, who's not taking two, so he's been able to get back in, but Soprich not able to do so. Ladler across the line though, where he's going to be able to put himself in 10th position. So Soppinen is going to be the only driver in the 125s and on the back row of the grid by himself, as I don't think Soprich is going to get in time for the race.
It's a shame for Soprich, but Charlie Collins takes another pole position, and what a lap there. Nearly 0.2 of a second better than anybody else. Kevin Siggy and Enzo Benito next. Then Josh Rogers, who is 4th, comfortably in front of the two TC Esports drivers of David Sobrero and Augustin Torlashi, and they've got a relatively big gap over Daniel Raches there, who's in 7th, the only SimNation PXN racing driver. Then Stan Vlietstra for Ref Rocks, and between the two Ref Rocks drivers are Kimi Happela and Dominic Ladler, with Juho Soppinen rounding out the field. So we are going to see that run towards turn 1 coming up next in the race. And as I say, it removes the iconic view at Spa, doesn't it? That shot coming down the front straight and the big braking zone into the impossibly tight chicane. It's like turning off a highway or motorway and going onto a slip road, but obviously it's a race and they're all going in 2 and 3 and 4 wide on the way into that chicane. But it's not the same in this Lao. It's not the same. So it's going to be something difficult to get used to, let's say, but maybe the second chicane is then just going to serve the same purpose, because it's quite similar really when you look at it.
And then there's more time for everyone to have slipstreamed each other. Certainly an interesting one, but I mean, if you watch the GT World Challenge race a couple of weeks ago, that's certainly what can happen. If you remember back to the Spring Major in 2023, you had Moritz Lerner causing quite a chain reaction that eventually led to Chinchik's win that day. So it has history, and that does that first chicane, but we've removed that. We go straight down into Curva Grande, and to be honest, I'm thinking we may see some opportunities for a slipstream down in towards basically the second chicane, which is now the first. How do we do that? We're gonna have to get our heads around that. Anyway,
I think the role of the teammate might be very, very important. And you can see it happening here as well. These are not all teammates, as you can see. But people are just getting into this practice session and looking around and just figuring a few things out. You know, where do I need to be? Who can I slipstream? Who can I work with? What's the situation? Coming through this chicane, there's the cut-through road. It's pretty uneventful. But yeah, I do wonder, with Collins out there on his own on pole, and then two Verstappen Sim Racing drivers together, I wonder if that's going to be of any assistance. Obviously, it's not in the rules to bump draft, but I do wonder, having two teammates in second and third, how that's going to be more helpful than it was to have them second and fourth as they were before.
Yes, and I'm trying to yeah, because they're not going to be pushing each other directly off the grid. They're not going to be behind each other, so they're going to have to try and get into formation. But at least if they do get single file, they will then be able to figure something out. The track is not overly wide either, Ewan. It is still that old school circuit. It has been reconfigured a few times, but it's still old school. It's not quite as wide as we saw in other tracks.
Yeah, very true. Here we go then. A voyage of discovery in RENNSPORT R1 as Monza with no chicane gets underway, and the front six again get into single file very quickly. But here come the teammates, Siggy and Benito, in behind one another. Again, bump drafting not allowed, but working together, teammates certainly is, and into the curve ground. They look at the speed they're coming in with here. Rogers trying to make a use of himself as well here, trying to help Charlie Collins as Kevin Siggy gets to the inside line. Late on the brakes into the second chicane, now the first of course, first big braking zone, and this over the curve for Collins. This could be a big problem for Porsche Coanda as they slip back. The pole sitter loses not only his race lead, but second place as well.
And track position is so important in these cars, as we've seen, and that could be a long afternoon for these guys in this 9-lap race, similar to the 9 laps we saw at Sebring. TC Sports following behind in 5th and 6th. Sobrero and Tolashi staying in formation with Felistra, as he did in that first race, in 7th.
It does feel very similar to that first race in so many ways, but oh, look at that slide through the Ascari chicane. That was Benito and Collins making a big save there, and Rogers had to slow down not to crash into them both. Into the final turn, they're already a second off of Kevin Siggy, who might well be able to say, I'm big favourite for this race victory already now. Here's Benito on the inside, giving only as much room as necessary to Charlie Collins there. That was super close, as they're now side by side coming down the pit straight.
Yeah, Benito might be helping Siggy win this race effectively, but he's going to lose out on the podium with 3 wide, down in towards Curva Grande, and the two Porsches swap around. It's now going to be Rogers leading Collins. Collins is then really going to get the slipstream, and they might be able to put this in formation to both get back on the podium.
Look at that for teamwork, and look at the slipstream for Sobrero. He's gaining on all of them here, and he might have a look at a dive. That would have been audacious. Late braking from Benito. He's trying to hold on his own here, and he only just gives enough room to Collins again. These two absolutely door to door once again here. Sobrero watches on. He is going to try and follow the battle winner here. He can't quite do that, as Benito just about holds on. Not only have they let Siggy away, they've now let Josh Rogers away as well.
You know it's a track for slipstreaming when, after a lap and a bit, your pole driver is down into 4th place and even under threat for 5th. What a massive load of slipstream we're going to see down in towards the second chicane of the Della Roggia, and I think there's going to be quite a few times we're going to see a double, even triple slipstream if these guys stay close enough. Oh, spin in the background, that's Stan Felistra in a strong 7th position, but he's now going to get to the back of the field behind his teammate.
Oh, this round 3 of RENNSPORT R1 has sprung into life here at Monza with those chicanes. A remarkable racetrack, I think it's fair to say, and a great battle now for 3rd place, as Kevin Siggy has been let free by this fight, and so now has Josh Rogers. Enzo Benito will be a bit more comfortable this time round, at least, as he crosses the line to start lap number 3. But watch the slipstream here for Rogers, for Collins, excuse me. Gets closer and closer into Curva Grande. Will he be close enough by the time they're into the Della Roggia chicane? He might well be. Benito defends, and I'm not sure Collins is quite that interested this time. Or is he? Around the outside, and he does get it. Well, just when you don't expect it. Collins does get through for 3rd, and here it's a big concern for Benito as the others come in behind.
Well, Sobrero taking the advantage of that one up the inside. He's going to squeeze him out. That's going to allow Tolashi to come through as well. And Benito is down into 6th place. That is not what we expected after him being into 2nd place at the end of the first lap. and that is a big load of points that they are losing at the front of this championship. And the thing is, even if Sobrero gets a little penalty for sliding him out the way, Tolashi has still gained from that. But I say that, he's made a mistake in towards Ascari. This allows Sobrero to get up the way, but Benito is being held up.
Yeah, he is, and I think Benito has quite a right to be a bit miffed about what's just gone on to him there, because that was a bit rude from Sobrero, really, into the first Lesmo, and then afterwards it's just been called up behind Tolashi, which wasn't really anybody's fault, but it's just a bit of bad luck for Benito here. He looks over to the left, and no emotion really on his face, but I think he has a right to feel a bit aggrieved about all that. He can maybe rescue a top 5 now, but it's going to be very difficult to close margins like the one in front to Sobrero now, because of the lack of corners around here. There goes Tolashi on the defensive, on the inside through the Curva Grande, but even on the outside you're completely flat out all the way around there, and Enzo Benito gets back into the top 5 very smoothly.
So you can overtake with the slipstream, but you have to still be fairly close. The issue is in the top 4, the gaps are over a second each. I guess in the top 5 over a second each. So that's going to be, out of the major slipstream range, which is obviously under a second, but especially within 6/10 or so. So that is going to be a little bit difficult now to go up massively, as the top drivers are getting away. Ziggy, Rogers and Collins, the top 3. So still a strong result from Porsche Coanda, 2 in the podium so far.
Yeah, you've absolutely explained the problem with the top 5 the way they are now. The slipstream just isn't effective from the distances they are apart from one another. As I said earlier, when the corners are so few and far between as they are on this layout, it's very difficult to gain time. Benito maybe on Sobrero could be a watch, but for the rest of them, or for the rest of the positions, they really are set in stone up there. Tolashi's got to try and make sure this doesn't get any worse. He's been overtaken by Benito, and now Daniel Rated and Kimi Happel are right in behind him. He's just going to make sure that they don't pass him as well, but they're in slipstream range, and with the length of this straight all the way to the Della Roccia chicane, they've got time here to close in.
We did mention it, but a couple laps ago, Rate did actually overtake Happel in towards Curva Grande, so already before the corner, not like Benito last lap doing in the braking zone. So he's already making some moves up there, and that is an important one for them, being in that 9th place, although the 6th position is slowly getting a bit too far away from them without some podium positions between now and the end of the season, which, he's got too wide though, and that is going to allow all his hard work, and that is going to allow Happel to get back through, and those are some important points. But yes, we're just 2 races to go in a couple of weeks at round 4.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what makes those point standings on the right hand side so important. Who is looking safe right now? Who is looking in the danger zone? Well, at the moment, you need to be 72 points away from the 6th place team if you're eliminated, or indeed 72 points ahead of them at the end of today. So Verstappen Sim Racing have got a chance of being safe even before the final rounds even started. Community Team 2 are still yet to go, but Referog's in a little bit of trouble there with Glitstra down in 10th and Soppinen out of the race already. Benito did indeed catch David Sobrero, so here he comes, and he's got more than enough time to move up to 4th here.
Yeah, this is nice, but is it just going to swap back around? We'll have to see. He's get there very early onto the grass. Or was that over the bumps? Because it's not a very flat transition to what would normally be the escape road for the first chicane. But in the end, Sobrero holds onto it and regains control and keeps that 5th position. It's a shame for TC Sports. They'd have been confident after they got ahead of the Verstappen Sim Racing driver. But in the end, they go back into position of 5 and 6, where it seems they are today.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very much been their position. And it is a bit of a shame, because the thing I've really enjoyed about watching TC Sports so far this season is the fact they have been able to take it to, I think, the Verstappen Sim Racing they've been with more, actually. I think twice at it. Well, maybe they've been with both, and now they're with both at the same time. But they've really been able to take it to the top 2 teams. And Sim Racing absolutely needs those teams who are going to challenge the big 2. And first couple of weeks they really were. First couple of rounds, but this round is just getting away from them tonight for TC Esports. Anyway, I think they're missing Jack Heafley a bit, really. He's not here tonight. Notable absentee from TC Esports. Normally is battling right in amongst it with the top guys. Now, 9/10 of a second between Siggy and Rogers here. Well, I thought it was over, to be honest. I thought Siggy was gone, but Rogers is just finding a bit of form here, and he's getting dangerously, in Siggy's eyes, close to a slipstream here, and then the snowball really does start collecting more snow, and well, it gets a lot easier to close in once you've got the slipstream, and Rogers is just about there.
Yeah, gained about a tenth with the slipstream on that long straight. I was watching the gap, so he's just about there, but the issue is he's lost a couple of tenths through these corners of De La Roggia and then the two Lesmos. So Ziggy's still looking fast in the corners at that time, but you can see just he's going down and down and down. But as soon as you get within that sort of half a second or so, it will just accelerate. It's like a ramp. It's not a linear path by any means. So Ziggy needs to not make a mistake. If he does that, loses quarter of a second, he will be under threat coming in towards the final lap. But 2 to go at the line. Final race of the night here for Group 8, race number 2 at Monza No Chicane. And it is Ziggy leading, 2 laps to go in the 2 car.
Maybe this second half of the lap is just about done enough to keep him at bay for one more lap. And don't forget, you've got to get your moves done early here in Monza. So we're only 1 lap away from the best overtaking chance for the final time. It looks like a long time remaining with 2 laps still to go in the race, but it really ticks away from you very quickly. Rogers is only about a 100th of a second closer than he was last time coming into the Curva Grande, maybe 200ths, but that sort of a rate of closing is not going to be anywhere near enough. He's going to need an endurance race to close at that sort of rate. Through the second chicane, that's a nice run there, and he's now 2/3 of a second behind. This has got to be the lap of the race from Josh Rogers.
Yeah, this needs to be pole position lap, even though he was 4th on the grid. This needs to be a pole lap. He needs to get as close as he can to that half a second gap. Then he might have half a chance coming in towards De La Roggia on the final lap of the race. Ziggy, of course, will be doing everything that he can after having a slightly disappointing first race. I think by his standards, coming in 4th, he'll be wanting to swap this one around, and he's doing a good job, but it's half a second just over with 1 corner to go before the final time down in towards De La Roggia.
He just got offline a little bit through the middle of Ascari there, which just threw him off into that final corner, but I think he's okay, into the final corner of Ascari, but I think he's okay. Now it's half a second. What's his exit from the Parabolica like? It's okay. He's at least level with Ziggy coming out of that final corner. Here's the big slipstream. The final lap is here, and the best overtaking opportunity on the lap comes right away at the De La Roggia. Towards the Curva Grande, he's getting closer. Is he getting closer quickly enough here as they come through that first chicane there? They blow straight through it in towards Curva Grande. He's got quite a rate of closing now, Josh Rogers, and he's been given the inside line by Kevin Siggy. He doesn't defend it, and as long as he's brought it up in time, he's got this. Oh, it's gone off. Josh Rogers makes a rare error here, and he's thrown away the chance of winning this race.
That was a slam dunk race win, I think, if he got it past, but the issue is he's doing 10-15 k's an hour faster. He actually had the perfect gap. He was right on the end of the slipstream, so when he got to Ziggy, he had such an overspeed, he was able to go by. Ziggy not able to defend, but with the extra speed, misjudged the braking zone, and unfortunately Ziggy got back through. Half a lap to go. Ziggy needs to hold on to it here because it's so difficult to overtake in the final corner.
Yeah, Rogers has got it all to do now. A collector's item, that. A mistake from Josh Rogers. But as you say, he probably didn't account for the fact that he was coming in with so much more speed than he was in the 6 odd previous laps. Kevin Siggy's going to hang on by the skin of his teeth and in the end take race 2 of Group A in round 3 of RENNSPORT R1 this year. Kevin Siggy is the race winner at Monza for the first time with no chicanes at Monza in R1 competition. Siggy holds on to the victory with a last lap battle against Josh Rogers. Both teams will be pleased with the points totals. They effectively reversed their positions from Sebring, so they come out of the day absolutely as they were, these two sides. But how about that? Rogers makes an error into the second chicane. You do not say that often.
He does, and that could be a crucial couple of points because they are 11 points behind TC Esports. I guess we're only really looking to be inside the top 6, but certainly would be nice for them to regain that position. But Ziggy overcoming a difficult first race and to be the winner.
Well, 0.4 of a second in the end. Josh Rogers couldn't get the pass done on that last lap. He finishes second in front of Charlie Collins. But he did get past Enzo Benito despite their battles through the middle of that race. TC Esports finished 5th and 6th again, so their points total the same as the last race. Kimi Happala having a much better time at Monza, finishes 7th for the Community Team 2, head of Simulation PXN Racing. Only Daniel Rates from that team, though, competing in race 2. Sam Bleacher gets to 9th for Refrox, the other driver, Juho Soppinen, not making it to the end. And Dominic Ladler having a difficult day, finishing down in 10th in race 2 for them as well. Let's have a chat to Kevin Siggy, shall we? The race winner from Monza with no chicanes tonight. As we see the points there, Verstappen Sim Racing extending their advantage at the very top of the standings by 35 points over TC Esports and Porsche Coanda, who are in third. We're still yet to see BS Competition Grandmaster Team and Mals, who are all next in line, and Community Team 1, who are all next in line. Kevin, welcome in. Congratulations on a race victory at Monza tonight. That last lap between yourself and Josh Rogers, talk us through that run down to the Della Rogers chicane and how you were able to hold on there.
Yeah, it was expected. The slipstream, or at least the straight, was long enough, but I mean, he missed the corner and then nothing else happened, so it was, pretty smooth sailing until the end.
Talk us through the opening laps of that race, because there was a real fight, partly with your teammate Enzo involved in, that gave you quite a lead actually, and I thought that was the race done and won. Did you think you'd almost won the race in the first couple of laps, or did you expect this challenge late on in the race?
Yeah, I was sort of expecting it. I'm not really comfortable with these physics, I'm afraid, so it's obviously very difficult for me to even keep the car on track, let alone, be very fast in it. So it's, I held on, so it was a pretty feisty first lap, but, luckily nothing happened afterwards.
Well, congratulations on another good points haul for yourself and the team here tonight, Kevin, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much, Kevin Siggy, the race winner, just in front of Josh Rogers, who also joins us now. Josh, talk us through that final lap there, a race that you had in your hand for a brief moment. Tell us about it from your perspective.
Yeah, I fumbled it, didn't I?
I didn't say that.
The overspeed was a bit more than I realized. I think we were doing like 20 kilometers an hour more or something. I broke on my normal point, and obviously that doesn't work. So I gave the spot back, and after that, the dirty air it was over. So yeah.
I mean, what have you made of tonight overall? Because yourselves and, as you said earlier, this is about qualifying and not about who's actually winning the title. But yourselves and Verstappen Sim Racing get exactly the same points out of tonight. What do you think it says about this season and the potential of what we could see in the final between your two teams and maybe some others as well? Does tonight show that you two teams are sort of on an absolute 50-50 level footing at the moment, do you think, or is that just tonight?
No, it's probably fair to say. But ultimately we won't know for sure until the final comes around. So like, I think, at least I know from my side, like I've been a bit strapped for time this week, so like it's in a championship like this, you're fighting an uphill battle in that situation. So I think the finals will give a much clearer picture, I think, of where everyone's at.
Well, absolutely. Well, thanks for chatting to us tonight, Josh, throughout, and congratulations on a couple of podiums as well.
Cheers, thank you.
Thanks so much. And also on the podium, Charlie Collins in third place. Charlie, welcome in as well. You had the, I don't say the most of the fights of anybody, but certainly quite a lot of the fights in that race. How was that, especially early on with Enzo and the others around you?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I knew starting first here wasn't necessarily the biggest advantage, considering how long the straight was down to the first corner. I'd say the second chicane, but the first corner. I played out like that. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best first lap. Just kind of got a bit loose on the curb when I was side by side with P1. I think Kevin at the time. After that, it was quite dicey, which is the first time it's been like that for us, I think, in this with the new series. So yeah, it's enjoyable, and unfortunately Josh didn't manage to get right on the back of Enzo, but I think he did a really good job closing up the gap he did. So yeah.
You mentioned that you haven't really had that sort of challenge yet this season, but of course this is the first time you've been up against Verstappen Sim Racing in a group as well at the same time this season. I'd ask the same thing to Josh, but what do you make of the sort of balance between your two teams after seeing both teams pick up the same amount of points tonight?
Yeah. I mean, you saw in qualifying, like the gaps are pretty close. I think it's pretty visible to see, like it's just a close fight. It's how it normally is, how it has been for a long time now. So I wouldn't say anything too different, and keeps us on our toes and really makes us trying to maximize everything we can. And yeah, happy to come away with a good point stall, especially after the last round with what happened. So yeah, just happy.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Charlie, and thanks for chatting to us throughout the night as well.
Cheers, fellas. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Charlie Collins, the third place driver from Monza here tonight. There's the point system, by the way, in terms of the balance. So both Verstappen Sim Racing and Porsche Carrera teams picking up the same amount of points, i.e. 30 points from one and 32 from the other, and balancing that out over the course of the day. Well, Josh Rogers said it to us, it's all about qualifying, Cam, and getting into that top 6 in terms of the overall point standings, which both of those two teams are now. But they weren't willing to read too much into the fact they both got the same amount of points tonight. But, you know, I think from our perspective, it sets up potentially quite a good finals week, which I'm quite looking forward to already, since we're not 100% sure they're going to be there, but I think we're pretty safe to say that it's going to be Verstappen Sim Racing and Porsche Carrera who are there, and maybe they will be the top 2 fighting it out for the title.
Yes, it's interesting that they are so they're sort of keeping it to themselves, what they're thinking going into it. But yeah, it's one of these things where they're just getting the points on the board. You've still got to be competitive enough, though, because say Porsche Carrera we've got the disqualifications, we're not going to win the regular season, let's say, but they can't let Verstappen Sim Racing have all that momentum and confidence going into the final. They need to be challenging them, and that's certainly what happened tonight. You even heard Kevin Sickie saying he literally is not confident in these machineries. So I think Porsche Carrera have got Verstappen on their toes.
I think so. It's coming off the back, of course, of the previous R1 event at the Esports World Cup last year, where Porsche Carrera had a shock early exit on the penultimate day, which gave Redline, as they were called then, didn't give them the win, but certainly made their path a lot easier to the victory on finals day. But it looks like they're much more evenly matched, as they have been online actually for a long time now. It's been at LAN events where the disparity has been seen most recently. Here's the final qualifying session of the night then. The final race of the night coming up shortly after. Maximilian Den, whipping his horse all the way to the line. The most animated I've ever seen a sim racer, who does a 24.3.
That was amazing, the way he just waved his hand at the end. Clearly not happy with that lap. Let's see where it puts him at the end of the day. Here we go, though, for Bigelow coming around the final corner, one of our PlayStation drivers, and up towards the line. He's got a couple of purples, although that is taken away, so there's a fast lap coming in behind him, and Bigelow up towards the line, also egging his car along, but in the end, by 0.5 of a second, just misses out.
Warm temperatures send everyone loopy. Anyway, here's Will Chadwick, less expressionful at the moment as he comes into the final turn. This looks to be a better lap from Will, actually, and the expression on his face says that he's a bit more pleased with it. Or at least he's not disgusted with himself like he was at Sebring. Now out the final turn and up towards the line, when to see what it's going to be. A 23 is pretty solid, and he's shocked. I think pleasantly this time.
Is he shocked by the time? Is that his personal best from all the practice? We'll have to try and maybe speak to him after the race to find out. Or maybe it's just the fact that he's on provisional pole. Here's Robbie Stableford, second in qualifying and the race in the opening race for Group B. But in the second one, what's it going to be? Purple middle sector to the line. It's going to be a 23.58, easily provisional pole for now. But he still has his teammate Kaika, the penultimate driver out there, and of course the mouse drivers too.
Yep, we've still got some very, very big names to come yet. And Kaki Oliveira coming late in the session. Don't forget what happened last time that was the case. He took the pole at Sebring earlier on. Here's Cristiano Gianotta up towards the line, and he goes into third place with a fairly solid lap time. By the way, Will Chadwick's just messaged me. That was his second ever 23 at this circuit, so that's why he's so pleased.
That's amazing. And a 23.98 as well. So, I guess a 9.85. So it's basically a 9.9. So he's literally just got himself into there. Here's Latkovsky across the line, doing such a good job in that previous race, getting fourth position. Where is it going to be? Fourth again. No, third even. He jumps up to just ahead by 0.02 of a second ahead of his teammate Gianotta.
Pretty consistent across the board from those two, and as long as that time stands up, or those two times stand up well against the rest of the field, then they're in a pretty good place there actually. Still waiting on both Mal's drivers. The Grandmasters team haven't finished yet either. Nico Nuninghoff is going to do that now as he comes up towards the start-finish line. What's the time? Oh, this has been off for a long time. This is a worrying session so far for the Grandmasters team.
Yes, that is not ideal, especially for a driver who has had quite a few podiums already in the opening races of this season. And let's see what Moritz Lerner is going to do for Mouse across the line. He needs to be competitive. It's only 5th place. That is disappointing for Lerner, but look how close the times are. Just another quarter of a second, and he would be on the front row of the grid, but that's not how it is. Is Matt Caruana clearly very hot in his sim rig at this moment in time, around the final corner, shirtless, trying to see what he can do. It needs to be something for EMM. He's got his teammate on the front row. Can he join him up towards the line? And it's going to be 5th position in the end. Not quite enough, but still even better than Sebring.
I don't want to watch Caruana stand up and get out of his rig because I'm not sure quite what we're going to see when he does that. But anyway, Kike Oliveira comes up towards the line now. He's purple in the middle section. This is exactly the scenario as we got towards the end of qualifying at Sebring. He was one of the last one. He was the last one on that occasion. Purple in the middle there as well. This time only second, but it's still his teammate on pole. It's a BS 1-2 with only 2 to come.
And you can see why Will Chadwick was so happy. He's less than a 10th behind the winner of the previous race, a dominant winner as well. So Chad is showing some speed, but now down to Schroeder, the 11th driver to settle out for Community Team 3, up towards the line in his Peugeot. Where is it going to be in the end? It's going to be, second place. What a lap there to go ahead of Oliveira and put his position on the front row, but it's just Benneker to go.
That's a dream lap from Tim Schroeder. Really is not the driver you expect to see on the front row, but he might just have split the BS competition drivers at the front. Now, Max Benneker needs to ease some nerves here for Miles because they'll be starting to build with Giannotta and Lakovsky's times, both better than Lerner's. Benneker gets ahead of them at least. He's 4th place and will ease some nerves for Miles, but it's pole again, this time for Robbie Stapleford.
Wow, that is a great qualifying session there, and look how close it is. It's just a 100th here and there between the drivers. But it's Stapleford on pole, with Schroeder getting the Community Team 3 on the front row. What a lap from him, ahead of Oliveira and Max Benneker on the second row. That is going to be absolute popcorn down in towards the De La Rogia on the first lap. Will Chadwick gets 5th, but he's so close to Oliveira. He's very happy with that lap. There's Lakovsky and Giannotta there for Community Team 1. Caruana rounds out the front 4 rows. Lerner will be disappointed with 9th with Maxi Den, and that is a really disappointing one for Grandmasters with Bigler, and then the Grandmasters team of Nuningov at the back. They've got a lot of work to do to try and make sure they're keeping themselves inside the top 6. There's Schroeder still smiling after that lap.
Biggest smile on the grid. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, I love it when an underdog of any kind, really, it doesn't matter what you're watching, when somebody you're not quite expecting to do well does well. It doesn't even have to be a win overall, but what a great performance that is, and hopefully he can go on with a good race result. And look at the smile on Robbie Stapleford's face as well. I mentioned it to him in my question. I just couldn't believe the relief that it felt like was washing over Kike Oliveira and Robbie Stapleford. Feels like they've, I suppose it shows they've got higher standards of themselves than what they've been able to produce so far this season. But maybe now that they have got that 1-2 in Sebring, the shackles have been released a little bit, and Stapleford certainly, that was an excellent lap time from him. Would have had him right in amongst the Porsche Coanders and Verstappen sim racing drivers of the previous session.
So a driver smiling is also a confident driver, but what we saw, Ewan, was Charlie Collins pole position after lap 2, 4th. So it is very, very easy to lose places when you're leading at a slipstream track like this. And as we come to the just a lap to go back into Raceville and have some warm up for these drivers, they'll all be thinking about that and working where can they position their car to keep their their track position, which is going to be so important down in towards the chicane.
It certainly is. We saw it in the first race there of our Monza races. The start here, just because the first chicane has been removed, is no less intense, no less scary, I think, because even on the first lap coming through the Curva Grande with such high speed, and you know, you've got to just be super, super careful not to have a big crash, to be honest, or get caught up in it if there's going to be one. But the fact that there's some unknown names up towards the front as well, and Tim Schroeder is still delighted with the lap time, clearly, to be on the front row here. We'll now have to focus in for this race. But those sort of stranger names, if you like, up towards the front do create some unusual scenarios as well. So, I mean, anything can happen here in the first few moments of this race.
Final race of the night, Group B, race 2 here from Monza. Slow start in the background, and that is not good. I think it's Matt Caruana, and up towards the front, Stableford is having to defend, but it looks like Schroeder's going to be able to get up the inside in towards Curva Grande. No slipstream for these guys, though. They are pushing the air up towards the front. The good thing is Oliveira can push his teammate through Curva Grande for the first time of asking. Then it's Max Beneker who's trying to work out his best position to try and make some moves here in towards the Della Roggia. It's going to be Stableford still leading, but for second place it's going to be Kaika Oliveira trying to be squeezed out though in the end. Oh, big Skittles moment in the background, and I think Beneker was taken out in that one as well because he is dropping down, and that opens up the door to plenty of other drivers.
Both Maus drivers involved. Maus are in big trouble here. Beneker and Lerner getting back on the road together in 11th and 12th. It's a disaster scenario for those two. Luckily, though, Cristiano Gianotta and Cody Latkovsky also lost places. Latkovsky's off the back of the train completely. Gianotti's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting, but I think it was Latkovsky, and Lerner who had made a bit of contact initially. There was someone barreling down the inside, Moritz Lerner style as well. Well, on the other side of the road, Moritz Lerner was off the road himself. It was all happening there into the second chicane.
And this is Nuningov trying to make some moves. He's already up to 5th place after this first lap, taking advantage of that incident and avoiding all of the carnage, and it might be 4th place. This is Will Chadwick in front of him for EMM, who are also in need of some points desperately. They were 9th place before any of the racing tonight, and they really need to try and work their way up into that top 6. But it's a tough competition out there. Nuningov gets to the inside as we open up lap number 2 and should be able to work his way into 4th place already, but Chadwick isn't going to be giving up with this one. It's the long way round. I know, so contact is made. Almost an airborne crash that would have been, but Chadwick backs out of that one, and Nuningov completes the move.
That was Barbie there. And look at this, side by side for Gianotta. There's an important pass. He moves up to 7th. As I said earlier, he's got to do a lot of the heavy lifting now for Community Team 1. They're only 9 points behind Maus at the moment, but Maus have got the world at their feet here, really, with the amount of drivers ahead of them. I guess you could say the same for Community Team 1, but this round tonight has made it much closer for that final spot inside the top 6. And look at Community Team 3, by the way. Schroeder in 3rd place, having lost that to Kaika Oliveira, but still doing well because of his qualifying. And Yannick Bigler in the top half of this race at the moment is putting them into the fray as well. They're only 12 points behind Maus right now.
This is getting tight and tense, and this is not the track you necessarily want for that because it's so high risk. We saw there with Will Chadwick almost having a crazy crash. By the way, Nuningov in the end lost that position, so Chadwick is back in 4th. Nuningov is in 5th position by half a second. So Chadwick has that one covered for now as we come on to lap number 3.
Who's close enough to who then on this occasion? Maximilian Dent trying to get back past Gianotta again. The Grandmaster team have slipped and slid a little bit here tonight, but they're still 37 points ahead of the cut line, and they're only in 5th, so you can see how comfortable some of these teams will now start to be getting, including Verstappen Sim Racing, who at the moment would be safe even with a round still to go. Here we go into the chicane. Bigler's going to be overtaken by Gianotta again. The gap down to 7 points as Gianotta he's required to do the heavy lifting, and he is doing it right now, and he's into 6th place.
This is good, and Latkovsky's actually not too far off in the background as well. So this could be Community Team 1, 7 points behind Maus. And if they gain some more positions, obviously that is just going to go up and up. And Beneker is also 3 seconds off the back of Latkovsky to get any further points. Moritz Lerner to add salt to the wounds. Matt Caruana is going to go past him, and he's off the back.
I mean, what's a step up from salt into the wound? Creating another one? I
guess so.
Anyway, Moritz Lerner is creating quite a few self-inflicted wounds at the moment, I'm afraid. That spin out of Lesmer, I said earlier, he's just not found the form recent weeks, and I don't know whether it is these. I mean, I spoke to Siggy earlier saying that he's not really getting on with the physics of these hypercars, especially when you compare them to the GT3s that we've used previously in R1. And you can absolutely understand that, and you wonder whether Moritz Lerner is one of those who's just struggling with that a little bit because this is a disaster scenario. That's another point lost for Miles, and they're only 6 ahead now of Community Team 1.
What drama this race is going to have potentially. Chadwick, look at the run he's got on Nuningov. They swapped around, they swapped back, and this is a great battle. Nuningov, remember, from a pretty disastrous qualifying by his standards off on the penultimate row, and now he's up there in 4th place, a little bit too far behind Schroeder to get on the podium for now. But Chadwick is certainly getting a little bit frustrated with that. Let's see what he can do, as he's not happy to be down into 5th place.
Yeah, indeed. The top 3 are away. I think it's going to be another BS plus 1-2 with Tim Schroeder in 3rd, but the fights for the positions lower down than that are absolutely on here. Latkowski is called up to the back of this train now as well. So even more points on the table now for Community Team 1. And Max Benneker is just under 2 seconds behind. So yes, he is getting here, but there's only 5 laps to go. And there isn't going to be much time left when he actually gets here, Benneker. So well, this is turning into a very good scenario for Community Team 1 suddenly.
It really is, and Latkowski's got 2 drivers, Den and Bigler, who's up ahead. And Bigler, you know, his team, Community Team 3, is only 7 behind Community Team 1. So that would be a very interesting swing of points if Latkowski would be able to do that. Look at the speed. We're talking 330. He's going Den to the outside. No big crash up ahead, please, as Bigler is going to the inside. Den to the outside. That is, of course, then going to be in the favour of Den as we get in towards the braking zone. And he gets that one done. And Latkowski's coming as well. This could be a double position loss. No, he chucks the curb a little bit too much. And Bigler holds on for now.
Yeah, but Latkowski is absolutely here now. Don't forget, Community Team 3, who Bigler drives for, are in there as well in that fight. 14 behind the cut line at the moment to Maus. The other teams are not mathematically out yet, but they are, I would say, realistically, every single one of the 12 teams actually with a chance of still going through, going into the next round as it stands, but only 3 of them really fighting for that final 1 spot. There's the top 2 meantime. This competition have put themselves into a very comfortable scenario here with a couple of 1-2s. This has been the driver of the day really from these 2 because they've got the most points, 72 points, the maximum of 72, and no other team have done that in either group.
And we have loads of competition. So Verstappen Sim Racing, TC and Porsche Coanda are all in the other group. They had to do a double 1-2 tonight, really, points wise, and it's certainly what they've done. We're going to get 3 cars wide here. Chadwick is going to be overtaken twice, and look at the absolute run there from Ginotta, and Den going past them as well. So it's a 2-position gain there for Den as he works his way through. Ginotta will follow, and unfortunately for Chadwick, losing 2 places is going to be the re-slipstream though for Ginotta as he tries to go back down the inside. Den holding it just late enough on the brakes for that double move. And this puts Grandmaster in a great position. 2 cars in the top 5.
And another driver joins. Yannick Bigler will be here now as well. 4 different teams involved in this, by the way. And there may well be another one if Max Benneker gets his skates on here and starts to close in. And by the way, a switch between Latkowski and Benneker means that the gap's now 8 points, so that's very much gone the way of Maus in the last couple of months. And Benneker's got the chance to gain 4 places in the next 3 laps if he plays his cards right here through this battle. So just after a terrible first half of this race for Maus, they're just starting to claw something back again here.
There must have been a mistake for Latkowski because he lost a couple of seconds to Benneker and now is a further 2 seconds behind him. So definitely a little bit of a mistake. And for Community Team 1, there are some important points lost because remember, you gain 2 points by making the overtake, but they lose 2 points at the same time. So it's 4 points basically is what that position is worth effectively in terms of the gap. So that's a big loss for Latkowski there. We come on to another lap, lap 7 this is going to be. We've got Chadwick, and he's under big attack here from Bigler. Down the inside, he's going to be in towards Curva Grande. There's another position loss. That's going to be 3 places in that corner in 2 laps. So Chadwick is going backwards here from 5th to 8th.
Yeah, it's very, and he's just hit him as well. He's got to have tried not to. He's only just made the corner. Benneker now gets through. He's just not, he resigned to the fact there. He's just not in control of any of that there. And he loses another place to Benneker. Thankfully, Bigler wasn't taken off or taken out as a result of that. But Max Benneker will take up that position. Thanks very much. They're now 9 clear of Community Team 1. And don't forget, this next position ahead of Bigler could be doubly important. At least it will count for double. as they gain 1 place and Community Team 3 lose 1 as well.
This is exactly why you don't give up after Benica. They're being taken out at the Della Roggia on the first lap at the back of the field. And, you know, he's potentially getting a 6th position here towards the end of this race as we're coming on to the penultimate lap. It is a straight fight between the 2 BS competitions. Is Kaiki going to be nice and give Robbie the lead and the win? Or are they going to fight? Because at the end of the day, Kaiki's going to want the win himself. He's getting closer in that slipstream. Is there any team orders here? No, there's not. It's going to be Kaiki going to the front. And can he get 2 race wins tonight?
Well, he's raced through there. Stapleford, I think, is going to say, go on past for now, fine, but the next lap's the final one. And if the same thing happens, but in reverse, then surely Stapleford will be favourite. As we saw with the Siggy and Rogers battle, it was all set to by the time they were in the Della Roggia chicane. As Siggy rather bluntly put it, nothing happened after that. So if Stapleford gets through into there, i.e. he's won the race, and that's what he must be thinking at the moment. He'll be fine with losing it there, as long as he can get it back on the last lap.
That is very true. At a track like this, sometimes you want to not be leading. It's a very interesting one in terms of how it works with the slipstream. Sometimes you've got to be that car behind to be getting the overtake. Robbie actually looked a little bit, resounding coming down that straight last time around, almost if he knew that Oliveira was going to be coming past. But up towards the 9th and final lap, Stapleford, can he get close enough? This is his best opportunity. We saw it in the previous race as well, with Josh Rogers having that one final opportunity. He's the same gap behind as well at 5/10. And when we get towards the Curva Grande, the car ahead's actually going to slow down with scrubbing off the speed, and this could be the opportunity for Stapleford to get back his teammate and take victory here tonight. Oliveira's already won 1 race back at Sebring. Can Stapleford do anything about it? He's got the speed. He's going to have the inside line as well, and Oliveira does not defend it. Down the inside on the brakes, though. Stapleford's got to get it done. Side by side between the teammates. Almost bit of contact. Oliveira's going to go across the chicane, and he's actually going to try and hold on to that position whilst doing so. And that's an interesting, controversial way to get the lead.
Well, exactly, because the stewards might well look at everything and say, well, if that's a penalty, if 2 drivers not on the same team did that, then why wouldn't it be now? We'll see about that. But yeah, Oliveira did keep that place by going off the road. I think he went off the road just to avoid contact with Stapleford there, because that would have been the absolute last thing that they needed there in BS competition. Thankfully, they were just about able to keep it clean enough, as Caruana and Chadwick, by the way, dropped behind Latkowski. Gap back down to 8 between 6th and 7th place, by the way.
Yeah, man, really struggling today, but not struggling at the front is BS competition. Is going to be a double 1-2. Oliveira's going to go wide, and across the line, it's going to be a photo finish between the 2. Stapleford will be given the victory in the end, and what a night it's been for BS competition, with 1-2 in both races. And it's going to be Schroeder after an immense qualifying lap. He unfortunately dropped down to 3rd place, but he then held it to the end. And for Community Team 3, that is an all-important podium in their fight to get inside the top 6. In the end, it's going to be a great day for Grandmaster. A difficult start to the race, but Nuninghoff and Den getting a double top 5. And then is Mouse, who has actually losing points, and they're now only 8 points above the cut line with 1 round to go. And there is confirmation of Stapleford getting the win, and Oliveira in 2nd place with the fastest lap, and Schroeder rounding out the podium. Grandmasters, strong results. Gianotta in the end there is going to be in 6th position, with Bigler also rounding out a strong race for Community Team 3 with both of their drivers inside the top 7. Max Benica, after being taken out on that first lap, I should say, is in 8th position with Latkowski, Caruana, Chadwick, EMM probably out of it now, and then Lerner at the back of the grid. Here's the team standings at the end of the night. Verstappen lead by 21 points in TC Sports. They drop from 2nd to 3rd, but still in a very strong position. Porsche Coanda regain all the way up into 4th place, with Grandmaster and Mouse the top 6 heading into the final round. But we will take some words from the winner of the race. It's Robbie Stapleford, who had that one covered from start to finish, all until the penultimate lap. Some interesting fights there with your teammate. How was that one, Robbie? First of all, getting the pole position will start.
Yeah, it was the same as Sebring. 1-2. well, we tried the 1-2 in quality again, but it didn't quite work. We got 1-3 instead. But we got 1-2 in the race, which was our plan, and it succeeded. So yeah, we had a nice battle in the last lap, and we had some fun after 9 laps of dripping with sweat. So yeah, it was good.
What were you feeling going into sort of Curva Grande de la Roggia on that first lap? You had all the cars lined up behind you with the draft. Were you worried about losing that lead?
No, I had Kaiki behind me, so we were just going to push together to the second chicane, and luckily we both come out 1-2 out of Lesmo 1. So yeah, I couldn't ask for anything else.
And I think we can confirm definitely no team orders then here at BS after a little side-by-side battle into the second chicane.
Nah, it's racing, so.
Certainly, yeah. Good job between you guys, and good luck next week for the final round of the regular season.
Thank you.
And next, we'll bring in Kaiki Oliveira, who, after winning that first race, was leading coming out to the final corner again, but I guess chose to give up the position there to Robbie. Just talk us through that battle on the final lap. It was certainly quite tense with 2 teammates going for the race win.
Thanks again, and happy to be here again. But I don't think it was as tense. We were quite relaxed. We practiced a lot fighting against each other, and I had to go for the win. But then I made a little bit of a mistake in the last corner. So, and yeah, I mean, we didn't need to take a lot of risks. I took my risk to win again, but in the end, P1, P2, regardless of what happened, it's really great. I think we needed that result because of the first few rounds, especially if we come back to my first round here in the R1 season 2026. I had a game crash, so to come back this round and have 2 1-2s is great. I'm really happy with it. So and congrats to Robbie. He's driving really great.
Yes, certainly. In qualifying, though, you weren't second, you were third, and you were a few tenths off Robbie. So was there a mistake there? Is that something to think about for the next round?
It was one of the worst Ascaris that I ever done. So, and coming to the race, I was doing mid threes. So I lost a little bit. I think lack of focus, skill issue maybe, but it's still enough to be P3 and work it out at the start. There was a crash. At the start, I was really worried about, because when we were practicing, we saw like the second chicane after the no chicane, it would be carnage, and we were on the lucky side. So I'm glad to have that on our side.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, good job today. 2 1-2s, and you're looking really good. So yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. Ciao, guys.
And then lastly, we bring in Tim here, Tim Schroeder. What a performance there from you. First of all, Tim, let's talk about that qualifying lap. You were so happy on the webcam there. Was that your personal best from all the practice?
Well, almost my personal best, but I would say it was a perfect lap. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, certainly great for you, and obviously Community Team 3, you're really scrapping to try and get inside the top 6 and get yourself to the final. So just how important was that to you?
Yeah, well, it's insane. Last 2 weeks with the INEC, I've been training really hard, and we're actually trying to get like P7, P8. I think P6 is a bit too far, but yeah, it's amazing that results like this can happen if we put in the hours.
Of course, but qualifying is not everything. So you go to the race, you had the one and only Max Benneker up behind you coming on that first lap. How was that going in towards that first chicane?
It was really stressful. I mean, I was glad that I was at the front so I could not like outbrake myself and get into someone else, but yeah, it's just like surviving out there. But luckily I made it through, so I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Then holding on to third place. Do you think you can do this again next week in the final round?
Maybe if I get lucky. if it's my track, then maybe, but we'll see next week.
Oh, it was great to speak to you, Tim, and good luck for the final round next week. Well done.
Thank you.
Wow, what a fantastic end to tonight. I mean, it couldn't be more different, could it, from the Sebring races that we saw in both groups, and then to the Monza races. I mean, there weren't many overtakes in the Sebring races at all, but both races at Monza ended with a last lap finish, and great racing in the meantime as well. And we've got it pretty close in the point standings now, to be honest, going into the final couple of races. So a great night's racing overall, I think, Cam, and definitely ending on a high.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially after a couple of week break, we're now back to racing next week for round 4, then the week after to the finals. So the teams don't have a lot of time to prepare and get comfortable once again. So I'm really looking forward to this. Mouse struggling today has made that P6 battle really, really interesting. If they do that again and Community Team 1 and 3 have some strong results, you might see one of the big names dropping out.
Yeah, you just never know. You'll have to come back and watch us. RENNSPORT R1 round 4 will be coming very, very soon. We'll be live with that, of course, with all 4 races, all 4 potentially decisive races in the race for that top 6. And then, of course, the finals not long after that we'll be live with as well. Big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in tonight. Thanks to production team, of course, behind this broadcast. Thanks to you, Cam, alongside myself for this broadcast. Very much looking forward to the next one. Round 4 of RENNSPORT R1 going to be a very, very exciting one as the teams battle for those top 6 positions going into the final. For now, though, it's goodbye from us here from Sebring and Monza tonight. We'll see you again for the next and decisive final round.